Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, aka That Music Junkie, and I am joined today by Kristian Montgomery of Kristian Montgomery and the Winter Kill Band. Kristian, how you doing today?
Good, good.
Okay, good to see you. Where are we talking to you from?
I live in the mountains of Vermont.
In
Um,
Vermont. Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of kitty cornered up against the. Would you get out of here? I got a red. I have a red bone coonhound named Roscoe P. Coltrane, and he's got some issues. He needs the attention, and I can't tell him to go away or he'll cry and howl. Um,
My dog's
so
very clingy too. I know what that's like.
Yeah, I got him, and I got my pug Chihuahua mix Freya, who's kind of the boss of the house. But um, I'm up here. I live on a farm up here in western central Vermont on the New York border.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool. I'm here in Kentucky, so same time zone at least.
yeah.
So, interesting thing about you, I was doing a little bit of reading. You've released quite a few albums in a short amount of time, relatively.
Yeah, yeah. It was four albums. Well, this last record is 12 songs. Will be 48 songs that I've written and recorded and released in under 4 years. So yeah, good amount of music.
It seems like you got a lot to say.
Yeah, I do. I held it in for a really long time. So I do.
Gotcha. And one of your albums, and let me check my notes here real quick. Sorry about that. One
So
of your albums was regarding your time in, well, you wrote while you were in doing time in prison, correct? The Gravel Church.
that is correct. So when I say I did time in prison, I didn't do time in prison for like a cool reason. Um, what happened was I'm a type 1 diabetic, and one of the big reasons why I hadn't played music in many years was I got into a marriage where we had four kids together. um, Never really got to know each other, never really got along. We're never really meant to be together. um, and when I ended that marriage, she was very angry, and so I had quite the battle in court to try to be a dad. She had
Oh,
told me that if I left her, I'd never see the kids again, and she'd make my life a living hell. And she followed through on that.
oh my God.
Um, but what happened was there was this judge, Kevin Conley, um, and he didn't like me because I have been critical of the judicial process publicly, and I was lobbying for a legislation that would have made it easier for people to get divorced and share custody of the kids. And so I asked for him to reduce the amount of money that I had to give my ex-wife so that I could afford my insulin, because
Mhm.
I'm a type 1 diabetic. And he said no. So I did what I thought a guy was supposed to do. I did what he told me. So I couldn't afford it, and I ended up having to be brought back to life at the hospital.
Oh,
I
geez.
paid all the money I was supposed to, didn't get my insulin, almost dropped dead. And then I sent him a message, an email. I sent him a message begging for my life, and he had me thrown in jail for 6 months. So, I mean, it's Massachusetts. They try to tell
Wow.
you it's this liberal, wonderful place, but it's one of the most crooked places you could ever live. So they threw me in jail for 6 months,
Oh, man.
and I ended up. I had already gotten remarried to my childhood sweetheart,
Oh,
and which kind of exacerbated the situation, made my ex-wife even angrier. And
sure. I can see that.
so, she had a crazy ex, I had a crazy ex, and we ended up moving up here to the mountains to get away from them. But the Gravel Church was basically, I had been in a band when I was younger. We traveled the world. We were pretty successful. It was more of a heavy metal band, but the long and short of it was, when I got married to my ex-wife, she kind of put the kibosh on the music.
Mm.
So when I got remarried, my current wife was like, "Listen, you're getting back in the studio. You can't say no. And after the first record came out, it was like, why stop? I mean,
Sure.
just keep going. I mean, we're doing so well. Why not just keep it up? So we have been.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's great that you have someone that's so supportive of your artistic endeavor as well. So I think that's super important, and it's fantastic. And upon listening to your music, I actually didn't know what to expect at first when I was contacted regarding you, because a lot of like your promotional photos, you have a very like country western kind of vibe aesthetic to you, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to be interviewing a country star, which is fine. And then I listen to your music, I'm like, this isn't necessarily country. I don't really know what this is.
Yeah. The critics have had a hard time actually putting their finger on it. I mean, I get comparisons to Government Mule. I get comparisons to Steve Earle. But there's a lot of people who have said, hey, I can't tell you who this guy really sounds like, which is great.
Means you're unique.
I have always been a big fan of Tom Petty and how he could kind of skirt the genres of rock and country and some of the more psychedelic stuff that he did. So it was we're definitely, we got nominated for the Boston Music Awards for Country Artist of the Year, and I kind of just thought, wow, these guys just don't know what they're listening to. I was like, man, like I couldn't wrap my head around it, and my first producer, Joe Clapp, said you never should have got that album with the cowboy hat on because everybody just immediately went to country.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I was listening to your you had an album come out a year ago at this point, Heaven for Heretics, and so I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, there's the country vibes there, but then I'm also like kind of picking up some rockabilly stuff and a couple things. I'm like, so yeah, I totally get it. I'm like, I don't know how to classify these guys, and I love that. I actually think it's really cool.
Thanks. We're I mean, it's kind of a, I don't know. I grew up with such a large music library. I mean, my aunt brought me to see Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers when I was 14. I think that was my first concert, and then a week later, I saw Ozzy Osbourne and Anthrax play, and
that's quite the leap.
Yeah, so I mean, I like all sorts of different styles and genres, and I don't think I could ever just do one. I mean, it just makes no sense. So why try to like stay in a box my whole life? I'm going to just kind of go with it. And it all ends up kind of sounding like me. So I got no complaints.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a band out of Australia called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And you probably know them. Yeah, they release like 4 albums a year, which is insane. And they hop genres all the time. Like, I don't think any of they'll come out with 4 albums a year, and not a one of them will sound the same. So it's wild.
My first 3 records were recorded with a producer named Joe Clapp, and he played guitar. I've known Joe most of my life, and we had a really good chemistry. Great guy and super talented producer. And then when I moved up here, now I am recording with Andrew Koss, who was Alicia Keys and John Legend's producer. Yep. So this album's a much larger genre leap. I mean, he's comes from a very poppy kind of place, and so it's been fun working with him. He's played drums on the record. He's a really talented drummer too, and played some other instruments as well. He's a Berklee School of Music guy, and he's worked with a lot of really famous people. So it's been cool working with him too.
Right on. That's awesome. Sometimes a different perspective like that can, yield really good results too. For example, Queens of the Stone Age were known for kind of the harder rock, stoner rock type vibe, but then their album Villains came out, and it was produced by, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's known for being more of a pop producer too. So that while that shines through on the album, it definitely lent to a more unique sound. Um, so yeah, I think that's really cool that you're working with someone like that, because like I said, it can lead you to a new place that'll might sound even more different than what you're used to, but also yield some positive results.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's new, different sounds. I mean, he knows I am a huge Peter Gabriel fan, and so you'll hear, the single that we released, "Gypsy Girl." You can offer her the world, just don't love that gypsy girl.
Mhm.
One of the critics said you could hear a slight touch of Salisbury Hill in the beginning of the song, and so it's kind of cool. I mean, yeah, I think people will dig it. I'm excited to hear what everybody thinks about it.
Dog saying hello. I love
Oh,
it.
he's such a funny. My wife, she likes projects. I mean, I was her first rescue, and now we've got, and that was my cat knocking over a candle. I have a cat named Friggin Cat, and she's awesome. But we've got 2 horses, the 9 goats, chicken, ducks, turkeys, dogs, cats. It's madness.
Oh
You
man,
know, I'm trying to figure out where I kind of fit in the
in the hierarchy.
yeah, it changes a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got 2 dogs and a cat myself, and I have to keep them locked out of this room whenever I'm recording, because the cat will be just like right here, and my
Yeah,
big dog is going to do the same thing that your big dog does, just constantly needing my
yeah,
attention. And
yeah.
then the little dog is going to want in my lap and need my attention, and then bark at the cat. So I get it.
hmm Yeah, we've got it's madness. The Roscoe is I named him after the sheriff from the Dukes of Hazzard. He
Oh, nice.
he doesn't howl. He goes woohoo. Uh, it's a riot. He's such a funny dog, but he was terribly abused,
Oh,
from what the people at the shelter said. So he's been a super work in progress, and he used to be very timid, and now he just is like, he loves us. He will not leave us alone. He knows that we're not going to hurt him, and he's like, hey, I'm going to just be right behind you, in your face the entire day. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
So you mentioned a new single. You got 2 singles then coming out, correct? Or one? Well, one's already out.
We've kind of thrown a few out. Demo. Well, some of them have been demos. Gypsy Girl is done. We had another song called 4th of July that's out. Just like the 4th of July.
Right.
And then there's a song called "Annie Pay Your Band" that I had to just kind of make a YouTube video of, and it's about the nepotism that I left behind in the Boston music scene.
Okay.
And I mean, it was directed at a certain singer-songwriter who was making their way to the top by any means necessary. So it was a fun little video to make.
Yeah, you've got quite the growing library on your YouTube channel too, I've noticed.
Yeah, we put stuff out all the time. I know that Country Queer magazine just put out a cool blurb on the "Annie Pay Your Band" song, and it's we've had a couple of people, friends, who are writers and stuff, journalists, have hit me up to see what was going on, and it's kind of hard to say no. Like I've never been good about holding back and trying to make the release of the music special. It was kind of like, here it is. I'm gonna write more anyway, so just take it.
Might as well. Yep. I talked about that with on a previous interview I did. Back in several years ago, you get the lead up to an album, you get like 1 or 2 singles every now and then nowadays it seems like half an album gets released before the actual album gets released, which
Yeah,
is crazy. Um, the Weeknd, for example, does his song "Blinding Lights" came out like 2 years before the album came out. It seemed like,
yeah.
at least. So I I totally get that, because you want to build up the steam for the album, but on the other hand, you got that excitement. You're like, I just want people to hear it. So let's go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it's going to take off, it's going to take off because people heard it.
Exactly.
Not because they haven't. So,
So let's talk about Fourth of July a little bit. So what's the motivation behind that song?
oh gosh, that's a very intimate song. Um, that was um, after I got divorced. I actually remarried to the first girl I ever kissed. Her dad was a fisherman, my pop was a fisherman, and I used to check her out at the docks. Um, I grew up in around Cape Cod, so we had quite the selection of places to experience our or to grow up. Okay, I hear you, buddy. Um, go. But Fourth of July was come here, you was about a very cold winter's night in a pickup truck on the beach when my wife to be just called me up and said, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And it was about the activities in the pickup truck and whatnot, and
Sure.
so it was kind of a very intimate kind of just a way to describe the anticipation and the anxiety of that particular moment. We hooked up again after years and years apart. She went through a bad marriage, so did I, and then suddenly it was just like boom. And if you asked me 5 years ago, would I be living in the mountains, surrounded by animals, recording my fourth record, I would have said you're out of your mind. That there was just no way that this was going to be able to happen. I mean, I grew up very poor. My wife's family was very poor, and we just took chances and made this amazing life up here.
That's awesome. I love to hear it. I love stories like that, and I have an appreciation for songs like that too, because you're speaking, not only from the heart, but you're speaking on just like real, like the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just real emotion and feelings, and like you said, anxiety and anticipation, and all those things that go together. So, in my mind, that makes for a fantastic song, because it's genuine. It's not like cookie cutter, just copy paste stuff, throw it on the radio. So I think that's awesome, because it's, like I said, it's genuine.
Well, it was lyrically, I have always tried my best to try to make them as poetic as possible, but yet without the dysfunction of that 90s grunge. You're never gonna figure out what I'm talking about crap. That
Sure.
I mean, I still to this day don't know how the Doors and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden got to be as big as they were without ever once saying, this is exactly what I mean in a song. Like it was always far too dramatic, or far too just over the top.
I gotcha.
It's it might not be Shakespeare, but it's poetry that you can understand, and where I'm coming from. But
nothing wrong with that though, because then it might be a little bit easier to relate to just the quote unquote everyday listener. So to say.
Agreed.
Cool. Shifting gears real quick, there is something I want to talk about, and it's kind of hilarious. At least I find it hilarious. like I said, a lot of your promo photos, they like sepia or grayscale, black and white. You know, you got
Yeah.
your guitar, sometimes cowboy hat, sometimes just like the hat that you're wearing right now, and the button-up shirt, walking down train tracks, and they all look great. And then like you go to your website and you have like the pentagram and the goat, and I'm like, what am I looking at right now?
So I have a good friend who's a graphic designer, and like if you met my goats, my wife and I adopted we have 9 goats, and we bottle fed them from birth. They were hours old. We took them, so these creatures think that we're their parents, and I mean, we refer to them as the babies. We go out and we have you know, our time with our kids out in the barn. You know, and feeding them and playing, and they're absolutely hysterical. And I was talking to a friend, and I said, you know, what do you think for a logo? Because I have one with a cowboy hat on, you know, with deer antlers. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool and all. And then I asked her, you know, hey, what would you think? And she was like, well, you got a goat farm. And then she put that together. And the first thing I said to her was, Hail Satan. And she said, and she was like, there's nothing satanic about it. The goat's got a giant eye on its forehead. And I just thought it was cool.
It is cool. Don't get me wrong. It's
Yeah.
rad. The juxtaposition is funny.
Yeah, then one of my friends said it's kind of like the Marine Corps goat logo. Like, he goes, it kind of reminds me of the Marine logo with a goat on it. Like,
I can see
cool.
that, yeah, because you got the wording around it. Yeah, I can see that for sure. I like it.
Who knows if it's gonna stick or not? I couldn't tell you. It might not.
I've gone through a couple different logo changes. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, Kristian, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. I know it's a little late in our part of the country, but
Yeah. Oh, no worries.
So 4th of July, it is available to listen on YouTube. I didn't see it on Apple Music. Is it available on Spotify?
No, it's only available on YouTube at the moment. Yeah.
YouTube at the moment. Okay.
So,
but on Apple Music and Spotify, you can check out Kristian Montgomery and the Winter Kill Band. His other albums, they're all really enjoyable listens. Heaven for Heretics came out January 1st last year. Really enjoyable. I recommend checking it out. Like we said, the Gravel Church. Is that what it was called? Yeah, Gravel Church. Another good one. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks again, Kristian, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.